Welcome to the Free to Soar podcast. My mission is to inspire, empower, and equip heart-centered, mission-driven, kingdom-minded business owners to show up freely and fully as the brilliant, powerful change makers that you are, so that you can lead the business and the life of your dreams. You'll enjoy vulnerable, authentic conversations with me and other heart-centered, mission-driven leaders that will spark your heart and ignite your passion to powerfully transform you, your business, and your life from the inside out. Your next level of impact and income is about unleashing the fullness of you, reprogramming your limiting beliefs and patterns, tapping into and trusting your inner wisdom, and harnessing God's power within you so that you can unlock new possibilities in your business and your life. And this show brings it to you. Step with me into a God-powered reality wilder than your wildest dreams, with freedom, impact, abundance, and enjoyment that you were created for. Let's go. Well, welcome everybody back to the Free to Soar podcast, and another one of the people that I have gotten to know this year that I have come to know and love, and I'm excited for you to get to know. She is a savvy business owner. She's a wise woman of God and just a beautiful soul. Her name is Pat Eardley, and she is the owner of Shift HR. And I'll let you, I won't introduce her fully. I'll let her introduce herself fully and tell you all about her and what she's passionate about putting out into the world. But welcome, Pat, to the Free to Soar podcast. And we're excited to dive in with you today.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So you and I have spent some good time together this year. We met at a networking, we're kind of a women's international connection group a few years ago, and have just gotten to know each other really well over the last year, I would say. And it's just been so fun to see just your character and your personality and what you're building in the world and the way that you see things. And I just love your heart and your spirit, and it's just beautiful. So thank you for being you. And
thank you.
Yeah. So tell us about you. Obviously, you have a background in HR, but I want my audience to hear your story a little bit of your story and how you got to the point where you were ready to create your own business. And then we'll talk about how you really help people. So tell us how that happened.
So I'm originally from Virginia, and we moved to Charleston, South Carolina for a job. So I did human resources in hospitality. This was a resort that I accepted a position for like an HR role at that resort. And that was in 2006. And before that, I've been doing HR for quite a while. I think my first HR job was when I turned 18. So I've been doing HR for a real long time.
And I have to ask this, I'm sorry to interrupt you because you were telling your story, but why were you attracted to HR? Like how did that happen? Like, is that the way you're just naturally wired, or like, is it fun for you? That doesn't, it's like, how does that happen?
I don't know. I think it kind of started in grade school because I always got in trouble for talking too much and, playing around with the other kids too much. And I think I knew that I wanted to do something where I felt like I was helping people. And I thought that something was psychology. And then I realized that really wasn't what I wanted to do. I started studying psychology in school, and I was like, all this is interesting, but I don't know that I want to hear problems all day long. Like, I don't know that that's what I feel I'm best at in like helping people to like navigate that. But I did know that I wanted to be around people and help people figure it out, right? Whatever that it was, I wasn't sure just yet. So I started working at a retail store, and they had a position in HR as like the HR like coordinator or something. And basically you were just like the admin person that like checked people's schedules off, did all the little bulletin boards around the back hallways and when it was inventory time, you did inventory training, so there wasn't a whole lot to that role in HR. But I realized that I really liked helping people figure out, like, what's the best schedule for you? Like, what's the best position that you should be in? So that's kind of how it started. And then I think, it's so funny. One of my bosses said to me a long time ago, the hardest decision you will make is not your like your career, like what you want to do in your career, but it's the industry in which you want to do it in. So
Right.
I did HR in call center environments, and I was like, nope, I don't like it. I did it in retail, and I was like, it's okay, and that was the hardest part, is figuring where I wanted to do HR. So I definitely liked hospitality, like that was important to me. So then once I moved here, so I accepted a job at a resort here, and that was in 2006. So in 2009, everything tanked, and people were losing their jobs and things like that. And I transferred here from Virginia. My salary followed me here from Virginia, and you get paid more in Virginia than you would here in South Carolina.
And now, I was going to say, where is here again? I know, yeah. I don't know
Yeah,
if you said it. I didn't catch you saying it. So yeah,
yeah,
tell us,
yeah, in
tell us
South
where you are now.
Carolina.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I kind of knew that I was going to be on the chopping block. I just didn't know exactly when. So in January of 2009, they were like, Pat, we just can't. And I'm like, it's okay. I get it. And I said, let me just negotiate, my my departure,
Yeah.
severance, insurance, things like that. And then I was like, okay, what do I do next? Because now we like Charleston. We love the area. We didn't plan on staying here more than a couple of years, honestly. And then that turned into like 2.5 years, and we were like, yeah, we kind of like it. Like we want this. And then like by the time, the job was ending, like we had been here definitely over 2 years. So we're like, oh man, now we
Yeah.
love it.
Right.
So, my husband was like, well, you always said you wanted to start your own business. I mean, why don't you do that? And I was like, oh my God, I talk all the time. Like, that's what you heard, is that start my own business. I was like, that's not a small feat. And in 2009, the word fractional wasn't even coined yet. So it was really hard to start a business where, I mean, I kind of did some research in this area, and there was only like 2 other companies that were kind of doing like an HR/payroll/ accounting thing.
Right.
So I was treading new waters, like new territory altogether. So it was really an education. Like my first year, I would say I was just trying to teach people what HR is, like what fractional HR is. It wasn't
Yeah.
payroll. It wasn't benefits. It wasn't, any of those things. It wasn't accounting.
Yeah.
Like it was human resources. So anything that you would do to take care of your people, hire, fire, document, create new
Yeah.
positions for them, all those things are HR.
Right.
Um, so yeah, so that's kind of how like Shift HR got started. It was as a result of a job ending. And I, I can look back at it now and know that that was just God's plan, and it's good. I mean, this month we are 15 years old.
Wow.
So it's, it's working. I mean, there are definitely days, don't get me wrong. There's ebbs and
Oh, for
flows and anything.
sure. Yes.
Um,
Where we ask
but I,
ourselves, what in the world were we thinking?
yeah, but I do
But then we
feel
wouldn't have it
that.
any other way.
Oh, absolutely. Same.
Yeah,
I'm like, I can't imagine, now going for a company and having like a job.
for sure.
And I feel like in this area, we have so many small businesses, that they need resources, the business and the employees. They need resources that aren't the attorney or that
Right.
aren't the state government offices.
Yeah.
Just an advocate on both sides to make sure that, yes, this is a fair work environment. And
Sure.
yes, as the employer, I can expect these things from you because we've agreed upon these things, and we're both going to be happy because we both understand what the expectations are.
Right. Yeah. And so tell me what those, like, how does a business owner, well, let me ask this preliminary question. Um, what's your sweet spot? Like what types of businesses? How big are the businesses? What are the things that are in place as far as, team members, revenue that they need in order to know that they would be a good fit for you? And then the second follow-up question to that is, how do they know that they need you?
Yeah, well, the second question is probably harder than the first one. So,
Yeah.
so I'm glad you asked the first one first.
Yeah, right.
um, I would say that it's probably easier for us not to work with um, a, a career that might have a lot of turnover, like landscaping or construction or housekeeping, because typically those types of positions and careers, there's a lot of turnover. And we really want to get into a company and make a difference with their team and with their leadership. So typically the customers that we work with are could be marketing, could be the first client we ever had was a doggy daycare.
Oh my
And
wow! Wow, that's crazy. Yeah,
that was a cool
great.
client.
I
Yeah.
bet.
And
How
and
fun!
yeah, we helped write job descriptions for them.
Wow.
So I spent several hours with the groomer and then, with the front desk and then with the people who play with the pets,
Yeah,
so it's pretty cool that we get to have a lot of different experiences. But yeah, so and I would say there isn't really necessarily like a revenue number that a company needs to be at, but I would say you probably have 10 or more employees, somewhere between 10 and 50. Our typical client is somewhere between 20 and 35 employees, because that's when they're starting to realize that this is a lot to manage. And I
right,
really need to focus on what I got in business to do and not
right.
manage people. Right. Because if you're just doing
Exactly.
the people management, you're not really making the money that you need to be bringing into your business. Like
Exactly.
you're not really hitting your revenue numbers or exceeding them for that matter.
That's right.
So I think that that's when people decide that they need help is like, I have a lot of people to manage and I don't necessarily want to know that, my kid gets out of school 2 hours early. So I need to be off to get them on this day. And then on this day, they don't really want to mess with all that.
Right.
So they'd much rather have someone else, helping out in that area. And then
Yeah.
succession planning, your leadership, your supervisors, like who's going to fill their shoes so then they can move up to management. And
Yeah.
especially if you're a small company, there's not a lot of rungs on the ladder, right? So you
Yeah.
have to make sure that you're adding value to your people. And that's
Yeah.
transferable skill. It's giving them opportunity to do new things, learn new things. So we really try
Yeah.
to work with our clients to help them figure out what are the things that would make someone feel as though they are valued in that company.
Yeah. Wow. And so so if a business owner, who's somebody who's listening says, yeah, but I can write job descriptions and like, why would I need to bring in someone to, like, I know you said that, well, they don't need to be spending their time doing all that, but like, what are all the things? And I know what you do, but like, just for people out there who maybe this is a new concept, what are all the things that you can do other than job descriptions and, really helping them hire the right people, build the right team? Like what, first of all, why is all that important for them to have somebody who, is specifically focused on that come in from the outside? And then, ha- like what kinds of things, what all are the things that you help people with?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. With the power of AI, Chat GPT, Google, um, could you
We
write a
think
job
we can,
description?
we think we can
Absolutely.
do it all,
Yeah, I mean, it can be done. You can write these things, but
Yeah,
where it usually gets to be difficult or you get that bottleneck effect is when implementation comes into effect.
that's the
You have to
key.
then implement these things. You have to then have these team meetings. And also, I feel as though having a third party really protects the ownership of the company
Right.
because if you have to make a hard decision that, hey, I have to terminate Jimmy tomorrow, Jimmy's not going to be able to come back and say, well, it's only because you know this, and this about me. That's why you're
Right.
terminating me. It's separate.
Exactly.
You're separated from that. It's kind
Yes.
of like when you start a business and they tell you when you open your business and you create an LLC, don't do personal expenses, commingled with your business expenses because it pierces that veil. It no longer protects your personal assets.
Right.
So that's exactly how
Absolutely.
HR is. You want to protect your asset, the business, right? And you don't want to have that biased opinion in any way, shape, or form. So that's why
Yes.
you have that third party to be an advocate for you, be an advocate for the employee, and to protect the business.
Yes, no doubt. So what are some telltale signs? And I know that's a hard question, but what are some things that they may be feeling or thinking or hear themselves say that are the telltales that, all right, it's time. I need a pat.
Yeah, I think the biggest telltale sign when people call me, they're like, I am so tired of hearing about all the needs. Like,
Yeah.
I just want people to do their job.
Yeah.
I just need us to make money. You
Yeah.
know, that's usually what it is. Sometimes there's a problem that happened, someone left and, now has claims that they're bringing up, sometimes it's,
Sure.
it's that kind of stuff. So the 5 alarm fire that you got to go put out.
But
But
which tells
sometimes,
me that they probably needed that. If we can get that ahead of time and be proactive and do it and set everything up, just like our systems, our operating systems, the same thing. If we can be proactive and do it well and have the expert help us do that, then
yeah.
we're not going to have as many messes to clean up or fires to put out.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, like you said, like kind of getting ahead of it. Like we do have a couple of clients that are like, listen, we know that we want to grow. And
Yeah.
we know in order to do it, we have to have certain things in place so that we're not getting caught up in this thing over here and we can still focus on this thing over here. So I think that yes, there could be problems, there could be overworked, feeling burnt out, all that stuff with the business owner or the leaders of the business, but there could also be the business owners that kind of know what their projections are. They
Right.
know what their goals are and they just feel like they need to put some foundational things in place. And
Right.
we work with clients that are on a retainer, which means we are their HR. Like somebody calls in sick, I know about it.
Absolutely.
Or somebody could just be like, hey, I need you to put together these policies, procedures in our manual, right? The
Yeah.
foundational pieces. And then I'll just call you if there's a blip on the screen
Sure.
between now and then. So,
Yeah.
so we try to offer different levels of help.
That's
Because the
beautiful.
other thing is there's people starting businesses every day and they're not quite ready to have HR on a retainer. They just need
Right.
the startups.
Yeah.
And we recognize
Okay.
that. We recognize that that's sometimes a need.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point. I'm so glad you shared that too, because I didn't think to ask about that, but it's so important.
Mhm.
Building the foundation. And do
And I
you
think
see?
now
Go ahead.
employees like have sometimes unrealistic expectations, but sometimes their expectations are realistic and they want an employer of choice. So I feel
Right.
also that employees are trying to get ahead of that. They're like, wait a minute, it's really hard to find good people. So like, what do we need to start offering? Like, do we need to offer
Right.
like unlimited PTO? I am not a fan of unlimited PTO, but it's a thing, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
should I offer zero copay insurance, health insurance?
Yeah.
There's people are trying to get creative and they need an experienced person to understand that world to know where should I try to be creative, whereas it won't break the bank.
Exactly. Well, and there's so many options, and that's where one of the things that I see that entrepreneurs struggle with a lot is making decisions out of fear or urgency or out of a desperation or a lack, and so if we are coming from that problem per se that's going on, we want to solve that and get ahead of that and to ensure that we find good people. We sure don't want to be just doing things, throwing things at the wall to see what's going to stick, trying to do
Yeah.
everything we can and giving away so much that we're giving it at our own expense, where we're shooting ourselves in the foot. And that's where someone like you could come in and help make really responsible, wise decisions about and problem solve creatively to create the best scenario to set the company up for getting those, not only getting the best employees, but retaining them.
Yeah. And I think, Connie, that's a really good point because I think sometimes we make assumptions as to what people want or what's important to them.
That was my next
Yeah.
question. How much do
I
you
mean,
see people doing that?
yeah. And sometimes it's not, oh, I want
Right.
more pay. Money is always good, right? Like no one's going to
Sure.
say, oh, no, don't pay me anymore. Like,
But
said no one ever.
not everyone is as motivated by money as we think they are.
Yes, not everyone is motivated by it. That is the
Right.
operative word. So for me, this actually happened to me. I was already in a director level position. So my regional said to me, Pat, like, I want you to work on this project, and you'll be eligible for a bonus if you do it. And I was like, I don't really want to do that project because it's going to require weekends because it's hospitality. So it's going to require me going in on a weekend, observing things, And I said, I mean, is it optional? Because if you tell me I have to, then that's my job, fine. But if you're just trying to find extra stuff that you think I would like that's not it. And,
Right.
she was surprised by that. She was like, yeah, but you get a bonus. And I was like, yeah, but I lose my weekends.
Right.
Like, I want
Yeah.
my weekends. Like, that's important to me. So the time
Absolutely.
off was way more important to me than getting whatever the bonus was.
It
So
all
we
comes
need to make
down
sure
to
that,
really, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, I was going to say we really need to make sure that we're polling our people. And I mean, literally, you could do that for free. Like, go on Google, do a form, send it out to your people, make it anonymous so nobody feels weird about it. And then ask them, what's important to you? What are the things that you
Yeah.
value? It could be
Yeah.
4 questions on that survey. And then you get real feedback. And then when you're trying to figure out what do I need to do to make my business an employer of choice,
Right.
you've got your data right there.
Absolutely. It's so important. And there are also, the assessment that I give a lot of my clients who have teams, um, also, helps if you look at the results and pull all of that together, it will tell you what they value and how to best manage them and and so there's a lot of that data available other than obviously always asking directly is the best, and getting direct feedback is the best way, but you can also, there's also assessments that are available that will give that information and tell you what really does motivate people, what drives them, what are those driving
Yeah.
forces that, that will get the best out of them, and help you retain
Yeah.
them. So yeah, that information is so available, but it's so interesting. It all really does come down to values, and us not assuming that someone has a value that is not as high as we think it is.
Yeah.
Because or money may be important to us, but freedom may be more important. And so it's like,
Right.
again, it's knowing your people, and then as a business owner, and this is where I want to go next is, ask you some questions about your business and some challenges that you see, but or that you've experienced. But it's about knowing your own values too, and knowing what's important to you and what you need most, and really understanding what you want from your people so that you can set clear expectations and ask for what you need. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for resentment. And I see that a lot in business owners.
Yeah.
Not recognizing what they need, and just kind of letting things happen, and then giving too much, and then having misalignment and being resentful about it. Um,
Yeah.
and so I would imagine that you really help them with that process too. I know that's something I always help people with, but I would imagine that's part of your role too. As you get to know the business owner, that you help them understand themselves and what's most important to them too.
Absolutely. And I think that a lot of times business owners don't have somewhere to go. It's lonely.
Right.
They don't, I mean, you can pay
Right.
your attorney to listen to you,
Right.
but you
Yeah.
really don't have someone who is going to be able
Yeah.
to see it from your point of view.
Yep.
Because, let's face it, employees are like, oh, you own the company, you're loaded. Like, why are you being so stingy with the increases and, things that you do for the team? So I think that a lot of times, it's just hard for the business owner to really navigate, what's important to both parts. How do you make it a win-win? How do you make it good for the employee, but also good for the owner?
Yes, absolutely. That's beautiful. I love that. Yeah, I haven't seen, you know, um, we think of human resources. I would imagine many business owners think of human resources as a part of, corporate, and they don't think about it as great of a need in small business as it really is. And
Yeah.
that it's doable, that it's affordable, that it's accessible. And, and it is, and it's so necessary. Oh my gosh. It's a
Yeah.
game changer. It really is. So,
But
so
I
thanks
think
for,
also in this day and age, people, that sensitivities run high sometimes, especially if there's needs with respect to the medical needs or family needs,
yeah,
aging parents, medical needs, whereas you have to have a series of doctor's appointments or things like that, and they don't
sure.
necessarily want to talk to if depending on how big or small you are, your supervisor, your manager, or just the owner. Like they don't really want to talk about that kind of stuff to them. And it just again gives them an opportunity to have someone that can be their advocate and really say like, okay, what is it that you need? Because I had this conversation actually earlier today. There was a person kind of going round and round about, well, how much PTO do I have? What do I need? How do I go about taking it? I'm like, can you just tell me what your needs are? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, just
Yeah.
like, why are you asking all these questions? What,
What are
And
you really
then
getting
she,
at?
she,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I was like, let's get to the root of it.
Uh
So then
huh.
she talked about what, and I was like, you don't need to take PTO. Let's just, when we know that you like whatever weeks we know that you're going to have an appointment, let's just change your hours. And maybe you take a half of a lunch break versus a full lunch break. And then you've made up your hours so that you have the time for your appointment. And you don't have to worry about your PTO balance and how much you have left and all those things. And she was like,
Yeah.
oh, and it's like, yeah, just tell us and we can be your advocate.
That's exactly. And see things. And that's what I love helping. We can't see what we can't see. We can't see
Right.
outside of the way of our limited perspective, and having someone come in. And that's what coaching is. So, coaches are so effective at is helping, you know, people see things that they couldn't otherwise see because they have a limited perspective, and really going to the heart of the issue and going, okay, what is it that you need here? And is there a way that we could creatively problem solve this that maybe you haven't thought of?
Yeah.
And because we are, our very best thinking got us right where we are. And in order to, we all need resources, whether it is a human resource person or an operations person or a coach or all three, or,
Yeah.
and as business owners, I want to talk about that for just a minute. As business owners, we are the lone eagles. We think we can do it all ourselves, and we think we've got it figured out. And it's so hard, as many of us are doers and achievers, and, we're driven, and it's hard um, to bring someone else in, and because we should have all the answers. We should have it figured out. It's not that hard. We're smart, right? I mean, and it's also expensive. So let's talk about that for a second. How do you, because I know you have those same struggles that I do,
Yeah.
as a coach with business owners, just, knowing that, oh my gosh, I could change the game for you. I could really help you. I could really, like, you have no idea what's possible for you and how great it could really be, but it requires you bringing someone else in, asking for support, letting me guide you in my expertise, and spending the money to do it. Do you see that struggle a lot? And what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think that the clients that we work with, they see the value, right? They see the value in investing in their people. I think the biggest thing is how, like, in what ways
Yeah.
do I invest in my people?
Yeah.
And then I also feel like it's so funny. It's like you're either one extreme or the other. Like I've seen clients that are like, oh, I want to give them everything that, I just want to love them to death. And then I know they're going to
Right.
stay and I know it's going to be great. And it's like, no, you're just going to create a sense of entitlement. And then next year, when you do the Christmas bonus, they're going to be like, yeah, well, how much? How much this year? It's not,
Right.
oh, are we getting another Christmas bonus? That's awesome.
Right.
That's not the response. So,
Yeah.
and then I've seen clients that are like, see, look, I gave them that, and look, they weren't appreciative of it. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, was that what they wanted though?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I had a client that, and this was only like 2 years ago, so it wasn't even like it's a very antiquated thought and idea. But he went and bought turkeys, like actual turkeys, for every single person and handed them out.
Wow.
And he said, Pat, I need you to, they are in North Carolina. So they said, Pat, I need you to come up for the day. We're going to do a turkey give. And I said, oh, like a certificate or like like $100 or whatever towards turkey. He's like, no. We got like, 150 frozen turkeys and we're going to hand them out. And I was like, I don't even eat turkey. So I
Right.
don't want, you know,
Right.
so,
Right.
and I was thinking, I'm sure there's other people like me who maybe
Sure.
that's not what they eat at Thanksgiving or Christmas. Maybe they do like a
Right.
brisket or
Sure.
or
Yeah.
like, I don't know, the little Cornish hens or something. I'm not a
Yeah.
meat eater, but,
Yeah.
but,
Yes.
yeah. And it's like, he was like, I can't believe how ungrateful some of these people are.
Ungrateful.
Well, how do you know that they wanted a turkey?
Right. Yes.
So
The assumptions we make. Yes.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
think that some of the frustrations that business owners have is because they're not in tune with what their
That's right.
people want. And I mean, it's just like, I could share a million stories with you, Connie, but I mean, just insurance. Like I'm from Virginia. I'm from a very military town in Virginia. So most of the people had insurance from their military spouse. So this company thinks, oh, well, I'm going to give them the Cadillac of health plans. That's what I'm doing that for
Right.
every employee. Well, they don't care about that because they already have benefits covered.
Exactly. Right. Yes.
So, yeah.
No doubt.
So
Oh
know
my
what your
God.
people want, and that's
Yes.
going to help you not
Know
to.
your people. That's right. Or ask good questions to find out. Don't make assumptions. That's it. Oh my gosh. And it's so important that we know ourselves too and understand what it is that we need in order to have a win-win. Like you said, otherwise we're going to just create more resentment and we're going to wonder, well, why are they so ungrateful, which creates more resentment. Oh my
Yeah. And I
goodness. Yeah.
think
That's
that,
such a good point.
knowing what you want as a business owner, I mean, you
Yeah.
set goals. You set goals with your leadership. What
Yeah.
are the goals that you want them to meet in order to get to whatever that is. You can't just say, well, we need to be the employer of choice for 2025, but you've given them no guidance and direction of how to do that.
Right.
Like there's no like measurable goals as to how to
Right.
get there. What are the things that you can be doing?
Yeah.
And then you're going to be disappointed at the end of 2024 because you're not there yet. So I think once you have figured it out, like what is your goal as a business owner, then equip your
Right.
people so that they can help you attain that goal. And then the other thing is it creates buy-in. So then they want to, right? Because you've
Right.
involved them, you brought them in and said, listen, this is where I want to go as a company. And this is why. You tell them the why behind it. And then they can get behind that because
Right.
now you've brought them in, you've included them. So I think there's so many facets to that, but I mean, you got to allow your people to help you because it in turns helps them.
Absolutely. Yes. No doubt. Well, that's strange. And thank you for sharing that. That's good
Yeah.
wisdom. Let's talk just for a few minutes about what's it been like for you? Like, what have been some of the biggest challenges and learning experiences for you as an entrepreneur? I don't put you on the spot. I mean, I always say that entrepreneurship is one of the most challenging personal development. This like the hardest personal development journey ever because
Yeah.
owning a business pulls everything out of you
Oh, yeah.
that you knew was there and didn't know was there. And it is one of the hardest things in the world, but one of the most beautiful, rewarding journeys ever too. And so what are some of the learning experiences and lessons that you have gotten over the years?
I think for me, it was two things. It was sales and then asking, right? So when I was working for a company and I was human resources, I mean, if I called you and I said, "Hey, Connie, could you come by my office? I have a couple things I want to talk to you about." You're like, "Okay, I'm coming right now. Do you want me to grab you a coffee on the way? Like anything else I can do for you?" Because you're like,
Right.
"Oh crap, I'm probably in trouble. Like let me get there and like be super sweet to her." Right?
Sure.
It was not a heavy lift by any stretch of the
Right.
imagination.
Yeah.
Going into business for yourself and then asking someone to have a meeting with you about your services, they're like, "I'm good." And you're like,
Right.
but wait, let's talk."
Yeah.
So
Yes.
sales was really hard for me. Like I literally had to take sales training and just learn
Mhm.
like just the science and the psychological science
Right.
behind sales. And I still don't have it down, because
Sure.
it's just hard, and everybody's
Right.
different and how they respond. Like, you might say something like, one of the tricks that I learned in sales training was, I haven't heard from you, so I'm going to go ahead and close the file on this. Okay. So it's supposed to create that scarcity, right? Some
Right.
people, that's not a motivator. They don't care about
Exactly.
scarcity.
No. Right.
And then some
Exactly.
people do. So
Yes.
you have to know how to navigate that, right?
Right.
And then the ask, still a challenge for me. Like
Yeah.
asking someone, "Do you know of anybody who might need my services?"
Yes. Mhm.
Asking for a referral is like the hardest thing. It's like just as
Yeah.
hard as picking up the phone and asking someone for a meeting,
Yes.
or cold calling. Like those are things that I feel like were and still are something that I'm
Yeah.
constantly learning, like how to do better at.
Yes. Absolutely. And we all, because it's that, and I was saying that actually to my mastermind earlier today, that is one of the hardest things as an entrepreneur is knowing what you offer someone and how to communicate that to them and them not getting it and them still not seeing the value to the point that they want to say yes. And so you have to, you know, get over yourself and understand that it's not personal, but it's
Right.
still hard. It's still hard. It's one of those things that is just not fun to have to go through as a business owner. And,
Yeah.
and again, especially in service based business, when your heart, and I talk a lot about this with business owners, heart centered, mission driven business owners come with their heart and they want to serve and they want to give and they're, so excited and been passionate about what they do and they want to help people. And then, but then we have to learn to think like a business owner. And it's a
Yeah.
completely different mindset that we have to shift into, that we learn to do things very differently. And we learn to do things very strategically that are effective rather than just coming with our heart. We just think, and especially in the South, we just think if I have good intentions and I want to help and I'm going to serve you, of course you're going to say yes. Like, well, how could you say no to me? And
Yeah.
why do you not see the value in that? How could
Yeah.
you? And it's hurtful. It's hard,
Yeah.
but
It doesn't matter how many times you hear the word no, it's never easier to swallow. It just
that's
isn't.
exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But every time we hear it, it's I always say obstacles into opportunities. Instead of seeing as that one more obstacle, one more thing, one more challenge that just, one more door closed. It's like, all right, what did I learn from that? What can I do better this time? And it's not that you did something wrong. It's just, what did I learn? How did I grow? What is this
Yeah.
challenging me to get better at, as an opportunity to, all right, if I really get this and I move forward in this, what's possible for me? And see
Yeah.
it as an opportunity. But it's so hard, when there's so many things that are challenging us all at one time, and there's so much to do. It's, it's a lot of fun, very rewarding, but again, it's a challenging feat.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Anything
For
else
sure.
that comes to mind, or I know that's the, that has been like, wow, any area that you feel like you've really grown maybe recently?
I think as a Christian business owner,
Yeah.
it's really easy for us to come up with a plan, get driven, and be like, okay, God gave me this gift, this talent, whatever it is, and I'm gonna pursue this. Like, I'm gonna do this thing. And I think it's okay to plan. I
Yeah.
think that the scripture tells us to do that. I think it's okay to have drive, but I
Mhm.
also feel like in doing those things, like, if drive is here, God has to be right here too. Like,
Right.
it can't be like drive, 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 drive. Okay, God, come on, catch up. Drive, 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 drive. Okay, God,
Right.
catch up. Like, it doesn't work like that. And I think, and I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's years in business. I don't know if that's years in like age, chronological years. I don't know what that is, but I feel like I am starting to get just a better,
Yes.
peace with
Yep.
that. Like,
Yep.
versus like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, I got to make payroll. I
Right.
got to do this. I got to do that.
Yes.
I think that, and I think that's human nature, right? I mean, fear is
Sure.
mentioned times in the Bible. So, I mean, it wouldn't be
Yep.
there if it wasn't a thing, right?
That's right.
So, I
Absolutely.
mean, but you always have
But
to just
learning,
kind of like bring it back.
yes, but learning not to react to that, react out of that from fear and urgency. And what I hear you say is, yes, just no, be fueled by your passion, but don't get ahead of God. It's like our urgency, our fear, our drive, our ambition will drive us beyond sometimes God's pace, his rhythm, his way, you know, and his way is, his burden is easy, his yoke is light, or his yoke is light. Yeah, his yoke is light, his burden is easy. His burden is light, his yoke is easy. That's what it is. And he encourages us to do everything that we do from an aligned being, unified with him, that is peaceful and easeful and joyful and out of this place of creativity, not from a pressure cooker and not from this striving and driving and surviving and struggle. And that's one of the things that is so, I agree. I've just completely shifted the way that I approach my business and approach my life. And, I think part of it, like you said, I think part of it is years in business. I think part of it is hitting your head up against the wall so many times that you're tired and realizing I am not going to push through this wall no matter how many times I hit my head on it. It's not, I
Yeah.
cannot, I am only as, yeah, I'm much smaller than I thought I was. My ego needs to die. I need to get over myself and get out of my own way
Yeah.
and that's wisdom that comes from years of experience and years in business, and then maturity in our walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're exactly right. I know you and I've had many conversations about that, and it's something that I don't know about you, but I have to attuned to, my natural tendency is to go faster and beyond and move into the struggle and the stress and the striving and the surviving. And I have to reattune every single day and pull myself back to get in his rhythm and to attune to his spirit and attune to his pace and his wisdom and his way, which is very different from my natural survival mechanisms,
Yeah.
or succeeding that has worked for me in the past to a certain level.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely feel like, and it's a constant learning. It's a constant, oh, let me regroup, oh, I'm focusing on over here? Like, let's bring that back, bring
Yeah.
those thoughts captive.
Yeah.
So I think it's a constant thing that happens in business, because I think that usually if you own a business, you're pretty driven, you're competitive in a lot of
Right.
ways. You like to get things done, like as you said earlier, you're a doer. So I think there's a lot of characteristics that go that are opposite of sit and wait
Right.
and see what God tells you. Like, it's like sit and wait. What?
Trust,
Like it's just
trust, let
it's
go and let God. Trust
counterintuitive.
God. Yes, exactly. What?
Yeah.
It's so counterintuitive. That does not make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh
it's like
goodness.
so it's just constant, like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. I need to
Right.
still myself. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I need to stop like thinking about that. Cause I will find, and I'm sure that you have too, there's just things in your business where you're like, oh my God, I should have launched that by now. Like, this is awful. Like, how am I going to make it happen? And it's like, you can go off thinking about this for hours and you don't even realize that
Right.
it's consumed all of your thoughts,
Right.
and so I think it's constantly like being aware of what you're thinking, what you're doing, who you are, who you are in him.
Right.
And I think that, kind of, you had asked the question earlier about like, what's my passion? Like, why all of this? And for me, I love people and I love helping
Yeah.
people. So I feel like whether it's HR, whether it's, another endeavor, I definitely feel like that's the spiritual gift, like, that the giver and
Yeah.
teacher. And it's like, how can I help move the needle for the next person, whether that person is the
Yeah.
employee who's like, I hate my job and I don't want to hate my job, but I do, and I need to figure this out, or the business owner who's like, I just need all of this to work because I love this and this is why I want to do what I do, you
Right.
know and then I've got these people over here like driving me crazy, like, I just want to do this thing, you know
You're right.
so
Oh, that's
yeah,
beautiful.
so I think
That's the part of it.
it's always finding like what is, like that Simon Sinek, what's your why,
Yeah.
but obviously from a godly perspective, like what's the why behind what you're doing? Because you might have a talent, but I don't I don't think a talent and a calling are the same thing. I
No.
think and I think that sometimes your talent gets you to your calling,
That's
or your passion, if that's the word, that's a better suited word for you.
sure.
And it's like, figure that out, because you'll be a much happier person and you'll feel more complete, if you know
Right.
that and where you're going.
Yes. And that's so true. And I know there's more for you and you've got dreams. But so it's interesting that, the way that we end up, we can use and we can also serve our calling in different ways throughout our lifetime. I know that, I've always known it was to pull the gold out of people was my calling. It is to see who they were made to be and call them up into the fullness of that. And help them get out of their own way. And, and help them be their best. And I just have a gift to do that. The Holy Spirit just shows me things that, I just, just know how to do it. It's innate. Nobody's ever trained me to do that. I've just learned. I just know it. And the ways that I've done that over the years have been different. The ways that, I did it as a therapist for a while. I did it as a sports performance coach. I did it as a fitness professional. Now I do it as a business coach, and so and that's the other thing is, but always coming back to the heart of what it really is what fuels us. And that's what keeps us centered. It's not what we're doing. It's our why. It's why we're doing it. And what is it that we're going to feel most fulfilled, and we're going to be best at it and most effective at what we're doing. And it's going to have most meaning when we're doing it aligned with that why, and we understand that deeper meaning. And I think that's so important to know. And then that can transition. Like you said, you can be in your calling, but your profession, the way that shows up can change over time.
Yeah.
And it can look very different. And that's the beauty of growth and different seasons. But knowing what's most important to you and what you're called to and why you're here is the thing that keeps us in the most sense of freedom, joy, and purpose, for sure.
Yeah,
So I love that. So yeah, how do you say? Two more questions, and I know we've got to wrap it up. But what is your, like, if you could, what's the bigger dream for you? I know that there's a bigger dream. What's that? What do you want to create in the world? I always say, something that hit me a long time ago was that I heard someone say, I want to create a whole new world no one knows about, or no one knows exists, and no one can live without. And I think about what that is for me. I know what that is for me, that world I want to create that no one knows exists and can't live without. What's that for you? What does it feel like? What does it look like? And it doesn't have to be, fully, but I know some of it because we talked about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I like that. A world
Isn't that good?
No,
I wish I could say I made that up, but I didn't. But that's what I have it sitting right here. Actually, it's sitting on I keep it on my on my TV screen, and I read it every day, and I think, how do I move one close step closer to create? How am I creating a whole new world no one knows exists and can't live without today? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for me, it is a community for Christian business owners, Christian women business owners. And because I know that when I started, it was dismal. I mean, people just were so close to chest, and, they were like, oh, I'm not sharing anything with you. And it's like, look at the statistics. There's like 850,000 businesses in this area. There's no way if you, me, and 6 other people were fully booked, there'd still be extra. Like, this isn't scarcity mindset, But I remember feeling so alone. And then, there's a lot of, the men have figured it out. Like, they have a lot of groups that, and I don't know, like, maybe they haven't figured out connection piece, but they figured out how to do business together and support each other.
You're exactly right.
And I don't think we've done
learning how to do that. Women are set up. We're set up to compete and to compare and compete. I always say you can't compare and compete and collaborate and connect. The two don't go together. And we're just learning how to do that as a society. Of we've not been great at that. We've been competing and comparing rather than collaborating and connecting. And it's time
because if you see a woman who is doing it, she's knocking it out of the park. What do? You call her swear.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's trying to be a man.
You're jealous.
She's that. Like you're right. It's totally competition.
What did she got that I don't have? How did I? It's
100%. And I feel like that is the world that I want to create, where when people hear about it, they're like, wait, what? What is it? What is that group? Oh, I need to join that group.
Right.
And because I feel like I lacked so much support.
Yeah.
And, 15 years in now, I mean, I get it, and but I will also say that anytime someone called me and said, can you tell me a little bit about what you do? I mean, I've had people call me and say that they want to do HR in my area. And they're like, would you talk to me about it? And it's funny, my assistant took the call, and then she put her on hold, and she was like, this lady wants to start an HR consultancy in Charleston, and she wants you to give her some tips. And I was like, put her through. And she's like, what? You're going to talk to her? And I said, yeah, I am. Because you know what? There's plenty.
We need each other.
Yeah. And you know what? It goes back to God. Like, don't put him in a box.
That's right. That's
Is
exactly
he not able
right.
to provide for that person and me too?
That's exactly right.
Come on. So yeah, and she was shocked that I talked to this lady, and I was like, there's plenty for us all. And, and she's going to find her way. She's going to make her way. It's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think that's probably the world that I want, is where we're supporting each other, and we're basing it around God. And, what does he want for us to do? Yeah. What does he want Connie's next to be?
What's the difference? Why is that so important to you? I know that sounds like a crazy question, but why is that so close to your heart? It is to mine too. And I don't what's so different when God is in the center of it, really? What is so different for you? I know, I could share what a game changer it is for me to have when I am aligned and attuned with him, and when he's running my business, and when I'm partnering with him versus me trying to do it. But what's that like for you?
I think for me, it's almost like my solace. Yes. I have peace. There's peace in that, there's compassion, there's humility, there's wisdom, and there's peace, and if I have that core community, like Connie, I know I can call you and say, I have had a crappy day. I lost this big client. I don't know what to do. I'm circling in my brain, and I know that I shouldn't be. I just need to have a conversation. Just let's talk. And you don't have to coach me or anything. It's just knowing that you are a fellow believer, and you have probably had that same challenge at some point.
Oh, yep. Absolutely.
So it's like, if we can just commune, then it just makes it better, and it makes us stronger, frankly.
Absolutely. No doubt. Because, oh my gosh, trying to do it on our own is just, it's scary. I always say the scariest place for me is when I feel outside of his presence. That is a terrifying place to me. And outside of the covering, his covering, and outside of the covering of fellow believers is a really scary place.
Somehow we've let the enemy come in, and now we have that spirit of condemnation, which is not of him, and it's like, and once you know that, it's like, once you know that Satan's got that trick up his sleeve, and you're like, I fell for it 5 times and I fallen for it the 6th time. Sorry, I'm over you. I got it. So, but then if you have these people that you can come around you and say, Pat, come on, girl, call that for what that is. You know what that is, and then you're like, you come right out of it, because you've got that strength of fellow believers. And I mean, I just think that's huge.
Yes.
It's huge. And I think that, I mean, what more can we do? It's like how that scripture that talks about, if there's 2 or 3 gathered, there he is in the midst. It's like, think about that. If you've got this community, this network of, hundreds, thousands, millions of women who are believers, and they're all driven, they're all kingdom focused.
That's right.
Man, what can you do? What can they do?
Absolutely.
And this isn't about only material things. Material things are great. Don't get me wrong, because I still want a pool, right? So material things are good.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, what comes beyond
Jesus wants us to enjoy. He wants us to enjoy and be enjoyed. So so he wants a pool for us too. He just doesn't want us to want the pool more than we want him. That's okay.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But if you think about that, that impact, that group of believers that are lockstep, and That's what I want.
That's beautiful. I love that. Yeah, the enemy can't, when we give him cracks, he makes big, big chasms out of them.
Oh yeah.
But when we close those cracks and we have each other's backs, it's amazing what we can do. And the power, the spiritual power, the authority that we have when we're there together. And that's why God designed it the way he did, with community and, with him right in the center of it. And it's so beautiful. And well, I just have to say, I know I'm getting sentimental, but like, I just am so grateful for you as that in my life. And, you and I have teamed
Mhm.
up to lead a
Yeah.
what we call a God pod of women. And
Yeah.
so,
It's
you
great too. I love it.
yeah, it's amazing. And then you come to my oasis, and then I'm sure be a part of when you get your rooted going,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just going to be incredible. And so thank you for being that in my life and in so many other women's lives. And
Uh,
um, I know it's time for us to close, and I just appreciate you sharing from your heart today and giving us so much to think about and all the wisdom that you shared. And but is there anything that that you have that you want to say to in closing? And if it's okay, if not, but um, anything you want to encourage anybody with in
yeah.
closing?
I just think that one of the things that I've started to do lately, like I love like Audible and podcasts and things like that.
Yeah.
But I will say make room just for worship music. Just on your drive home, don't listen to an Audible. Don't listen to a podcast. Just listen to worship music. And just like bask in it, like just soak in that. And I love tea. So I always say I need to steep. I need to steep a little bit
Yeah.
more. And I
Beautiful.
had a little blip on the screen about a week ago, and I was really frustrated, um I think I was more hurt than frustrated, but I was like, I could go a lot of different directions with this, but I think I'm just going to sit in humility and I'm going to steep in Jesus. That's it.
Ooh,
I'm gonna,
ooh.
I'm gonna steep in him, and that's it.
I
And it was okay.
love that. I love
Yeah,
that. That is so beautiful and so powerful. And there's nothing more important or more impactful that we can do. It makes everything better.
it
It
really
solves
does. And it
it
was like
solves
that
everything.
could have been a terrible thing, but it was okay. It was okay.
Yep,
It's like, you know what?
exactly. No doubt.
So
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's amazing.
yeah,
Well, we're going to add to we're going to, of course, put in the show notes your, your information and how people get in touch
yeah.
with you. But is there anything that you want to share, as far as your, people getting connected with you now, or, anything that you have that you want to, anything that you have to offer people that you want to share with them?
Yeah, I think that we have, it's called an HR Help Center. And it's an online HR product. So if you want to know more about it, you can just go to shifthr.com. If I am willing to give, I would say 20 people, maybe 20 people, a free month's access to it.
Oh,
And
wow.
what you get to do is like, if you're just starting out, or maybe you just realize from this conversation that crap, I don't have policies around this, or I need a handbook, or like,
Yeah.
I don't really know the law about this in my employees, like whatever it is, all of those types of things are on this online resource. So, I mean, like literally you can write your entire employee manual. And
Wow.
just like a alert, spoiler alert, is that what it is?
Yep.
I don't know.
That's right.
Anyway,
I know it sounds funny when,
yeah, yeah,
some things sound funny when you say them sometimes. Yeah.
yeah. But if I wrote your handbook, it's $3,000. But you can have access for a month for free to be able to write your handbook. And then you can even have somebody review it for you from the HR team to say, yes, no, change this. But yeah, so if they want to email me at info@shifthr.com, 20 people, I will give
Awesome.
you free access for 30 days.
Woo, I love that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And heck, I mean, $3,000. Think about the time though. $3,000 to have your whole manual written. My gosh, that's pretty good deal too. I'm
Yeah,
like, wow.
that's true. It is a pretty good
Yeah.
deal for sure.
I
But
mean, and that's one
I
of the
get
things
it.
that
Like,
we owners have to think about is like, okay, yeah, that's not $3,000 of just an expense. That's how, if I spent my time trying to do that, how much money is my business losing by me spending my time doing that? So that's a
yeah.
great,
And
it's a great
yeah,
asset.
absolutely. And the thing about the help center is if there's any kind
That's
of
good.
law that changed in your area, in your state or
Yeah.
federally, like it'll be listed there. Like there
That's
was a recent
amazing.
change. It's called like the Pregnancy Workers Act. And that's a recent
Wow.
change to the law. So again, you can go there and just see if there's anything that affects you, how it affects you, depending on your amount of employees. So
Wow.
just a great resource to have.
That is so good. Thank you for that. So info at shifthr.com, and that's SHIFTHR.com.
That's
And
right.
all right, sounds good. And we'll include that in the show notes also.
Okay.
And along with of course your website. So um and thanks so much again. I really appreciate you being here.
This was
And
fun. Thank you.
I'm so glad. And I hope that you guys enjoyed it also, and that you learned something, and that you grew today, and that you were inspired and encouraged for sure. And that you go steep in Jesus, because there's no better place to be. And the wisdom that comes from that, and the clarity that comes, is just unmatched. So, and then I hope you'll share this with a friend if it did impact you in some positive way, a friend or a colleague, and or text somebody and let them know, hey, you need to listen to this, and then we'll see you right back here on the next episode of this podcast. And thanks, guys, for being here. We love you. Hope you have a great rest of the day wherever you are in it, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys. Thanks for joining me today on the Free to Soar podcast, where we empower and equip you to lead the business and the life of your dreams with freedom, impact, enjoyment, and abundance. I look forward to our next episode together, and I invite you to subscribe to be notified of new episodes as they are released. Please share this or your favorite episode with a friend or a loved one, and I'd love it if you'd leave a review on iTunes and Spotify.